Well, during this time of pandemic, wherein everybody got this so-called distance learning, it is so difficult to contact and monitor students. Um, I think it is very difficult for a teacher to check the authenticity of the answers of students. When we say authenticity, if the students are really the ones answering the questions or the assessment given by the teacher, because this time teachers have a very less contact with students, so we could not really check if students are just searching everything on the internet or there is somebody else answering the questions for them. So I think that's one of the most difficult things um, when it comes to students' assessment, okay, during this time of pandemic, the authenticity of the answers of students, if the result of the assessment is really authentic, since again, let me reiterate, we cannot really tell if the students just um, copied everything from the internet or from their classmates, or somebody else answered it for them. So I think that's what the authenticity of students' answer. Before pandemic, that would mean during the face-to-face classes, right? So personally, I believe that assessment plays a very important role because it will tell me as a teacher if my students were able to understand and were able to learn something from the goods that I delivered. I think it is be, a challenge because I have to make sure that I was able to deliver my goods in such a way that I also cater the different needs of my students. Remember, the students have different capacities and capabilities. Okay, I have to make sure that they are learning the skills since it is PE. They are learning the skills even if they are different from each other because of what we call individual differences. So, in my assessment to their learnings, it is a challenge to make sure that they really got it. They really got the meat of what I want them to learn. So with that, I have to make sure that I provided them with different strategies, different activities to cater their individual differences. So I think the great help would be the introduction of, I call it as um, what is this, differentiated instruction. Okay, when you say differentiated instruction, you use different kinds of strategies, you use different kinds of activities to cater the individual needs of the student. So if I give individual or differentiated instruction, I also give differentiated assessment depending on the needs and strengths of my students. So I have to make sure that I provided them with varied activities. So I think it's a bit challenged because I have to provide different rubrics, I have to provide different activities, okay, just to cater the needs of the students. Of course, without sacrificing the learning competencies that they have to learn after the session or after the lesson. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we have to accept that there is also a change in the landscape of education, specifically in the delivery of the curriculum. I handled online classes the previous school year, and the problem that I encountered is actually the poor internet connectivity. I think this is not only my problem, it is also a problem of my students who are under the online class. So it's difficult to deliver the curriculum when every now and then you got a lost connection and you have a trouble in re-entering again the loop or the Google Meet. And some of my students are actually clamoring that they are also having trouble when it comes to poor internet connectivity. So in a way or another, that's actually a problem. So what can we do? It's the reality in our country. We have to accept the fact that is happening. So as a teacher, I only have to, stretch my patience when it comes to rejoining again in the loop whenever there is a cut of discussion because of the interruption of the internet or poor internet connectivity. Or on the part of the students, I have to stretch my patience and give them extra time or an extension every time they have to submit the requirements. So, yes, it is a problem, but of course, as Filipinos we are very flexible. We can still um we can still move on despite the said problem and move forward for even if there is an existing problem. And there are still a lot of things that we can do. Then we can have a backup data, or we can still record the discussion so that we can send it to the 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 GC or group chat of the students, so that those students who have a very poor internet connection, they can still rewatch the videos of the lesson. So I think that is one. The poor internet connectivity. Few years of being in the academe, there are a lot of problems that I've personally encountered being a PE and health teacher. One of those is actually the lack of the facility and equipment. Remember, if you are a PE teacher, you have to introduce different sporting activities and physical activities to your students, and that may require you to have facility and equipment. It is really a problem if you are situated in a school wherein there's no luxury of this facility and equipment. And I personally experienced the problem, the difficulty teaching PE subjects specifically because of the lack of facility and equipment. But of course, as they said, teachers are very creative. So sometimes I resorted to preparing modified equipment or just make use of whatever is available that I could see in the four corners of the school.